Hey guys, welcome back to Paul's Hardware. Today's video isn't going to be about testing graphics cards or building a computer, but I think you'll still find it interesting because I have some new equipment here that I'm going to be integrating into my home studio. Got this fancy new digital camcorder that records onto DV tapes and, of course, captures via Firewire.
Excellent!
So to clarify for anyone who might be confused, today's video is about archiving my old footage from all of these old DV tapes. So no, none of this stuff is new. In fact, a lot of it is very old. And one of the issues I had when attempting to get my old footage off of these tapes, by the way, are from some projects I did back in college, as well as some work with the church that I used to attend. To even play back these tapes, though, I needed a camera that could play DV tapes. These tapes did record digitally and still do. They're still functional, and actually you can still buy these tapes that are out there, although they're less practical now. For one, they record onto tape, so that means that they do have a finite lifespan. Also, for those kids out there who have never dealt with something like this, it's got to spool up onto these two little pieces on either side. So that means there's moving parts. That means the tapes themselves can fail over time. The tape itself can wear out over time, especially if it's exposed to light. The cameras themselves did tend to launch at a time when you could get cool stuff like a flip-out LCD screen, which was pretty unique at the time. LCDs were still very expensive and just coming out. But more importantly, the DV tapes themselves had this cool loading function. Pops out like that. It kind of reminds me of like RoboCop when he puts his gun away a little bit. But these can wear out over time as well. So eventually, if you have an old DV camera, it's going to die. Now, when I originally recorded most of this footage, I wasn't using this camera here. I was using a nicer camera. So if you guys will bear with me as I reminisce and maybe get a little nostalgic about some of the earlier video projects I made, they were recorded on DV. Many of them are saved on these tapes. I'm going to attempt to load the tapes into this camera, capture them via Firewire onto this system using modern day Windows 10 as well as Adobe Premiere. But how did I actually record these videos? A lot of them were recorded on the Canon GL1, which is a mini DV digital camcorder, which apparently you can still buy on Amazon somehow, which is kind of insane. Oh look, you can get it used on Amazon for like $175 to $250. But this camera was absolutely drool-worthy at the time for sort of a prosumer crossover camera, and it had fancy features like 20x zoom and 3 CCDs. That was the big selling point at the time when it came to capturing digital video. You had some cameras that used a single CCD for all colors. The GL1 had 3 CCDs, one for red, one for blue, one for green, which gave better color reproduction among other things. But still recorded using just standard NTSC, I believe 525 line format, so not necessarily super high resolution or anything like that. And I just thought it was interesting scrolling through some of these older specs, like the 3 CCD specs, 270,000 pixels per CCD, 250,000 effective. It gives you specs like how long standard play DV tapes will record for, 80 minutes, or you could do long play, which is 120 minutes, but then you get less detail. But I think one of the big features of this camera at the time, and I believe it used to retail for about $1,400-ish, maybe $1,800 as a lens, f1.6 to 2.9, which is pretty nice, along with that zoom 4.2 to 84 millimeters. Oh look, you can also get it on eBay for 250 bucks. Just like today, where a nicer camera and a nicer lens is going to get you better image quality, this nicer GL1 camera got me better image quality on these old DV tapes I made. This camera that I got to hopefully capture them is not nearly as nice though. I think I got this for about 40 bucks on eBay a while back when I first started getting the idea that I wanted to do this project and back up these tapes. It is a Samsung SCD27 and it comes with fancy features like a memory stick. Look at that, that's a 128 megabyte memory stick, as well as, of course, Firewire connectivity, which was very popular in the time because Firewire was much faster than the original USB 1. I was hoping it might have a USB output. It did not, so what I now need is a computer to capture from this camcorder that has Firewire, and I don't really have that just kind of sitting around. My first idea was to try to repurpose this old card, which is actually the card that I used to capture Firewire with, which is a Creative Labs Sound Blaster Audigy sound card, which is a really good sound card for the time, and actually does have a Firewire port integrated into it. However, it is PCI. So I would need a computer that has a PCI slot, so I kind of need to go get a slightly older build and put that together in order to make use of this card. So as kind of a shortcut, I went on Amazon and I found this. From the Amazon warehouse deals, a 2-port 1394B Firewire add-on card, which is PCI Express, and also, according to the feedback on the Amazon product page, should work with Windows 10 with default drivers. So that was another thing that I was somewhat concerned about. I do believe this is used because it's an Amazon warehouse product that has stickers on it and everything. It is a Saiba product and pretty straightforward. It's a low profile card. They give you a longer bracket in here. Apparently had a disc that shipped with it at some point, but who cares about that? But here's the card itself. Nice and small, compact. So I am going to first hunt down a Firewire cable, and then I'm going to plug this into my capture system over here and see if I can fire it up and get it working. So I got the card installed. Fortunately, PCI Express expansion card installation. It's pretty simple. Now I've got my Firewire cord over here, and I need to decide which of these tapes I'm going to start out with. I have one tape here that just has a line on it, and that means that I striped the tape. This is something that you guys don't have to worry about these days. If you're recording on SD cards, it lays down a time code across the entire tape, which means if you're capturing it on a device, well, like a computer most likely, that you can tell it in and out points. And this was an older method of capturing where you could scrub through the entire tape, tell it all the in and out points to capture, and then say capture, and then the system would rewind back to that and capture just those in and out points that you suggested. If you don't lay down a time code for the entire tape first, then when you stop, it might jump forward a frame or two and then restart the time code back at 0. So that's why you stripe the tape. Fortunately, we don't have to do that anymore. That is one of the benefits of the full digital recording that we have now on SD cards. There might be something on this, but I think I might have just striped it and then put the line on it, which is what I indicated there. This tape just says Vegas. That one should be interesting. And then finally, I've got 4 more DV tapes here that are all from my cinema classes that I took back when I was attending USC. I got in of my own volition, by the way. Had a scholarship even briefly too. I was a bad college student. I'm getting off on a tangent here. Point is, I'm very interested to see what's on these. But first off, was that card I just installed even recognized? Let's go over to the device manager here and we can see. There it is, IEEE 1394 host controller. Apparently Texas Instruments makes the actual one there. So from there we can pull up Premiere, and I'm going to be doing trial and error here because it's been a while since I actually tried to capture from tape with Premiere, although it should have those functions built in somehow. Capture. Oh, there it is. Capture device offline. So at this point, I want to get this camera going. I hit play, it reflects play here on the capture function in Premiere. And here's where I was mentioning, if you have a long DV tape with a bunch of footage on it, and it was 10 or 15 years ago, you could play the entire tape back, and then you could set a bunch of in and out points here, and you can actually name all of those clips as well. Then you tell it to capture in out, or capture tape, and then it would go back and capture the whole thing. But again, it can only do that if it has time code that is down, which apparently this tape does not have. Whenever I make a video about something like this, a project that I'm really not sure how it's gonna go, I always think to myself, like, what if everything goes wrong? Not that everything is going wrong right now, but we are encountering some dilemmas. Several of the tapes I've tried so far have not been playing back properly in this DV camera. There's a couple possible reasons why that might be. One might be that the read head itself has gotten smudged up, so I'm gonna try to clean that right now. I've removed this piece just to give myself a little bit more access to it, thanks to my iFixit kit there. I was having some difficulty getting playback on some of these DV tapes over here, the Vegas one in particular. I know there's footage there, but it was having weird banding issues going across, and nothing seemed to be playing back at the right speed. There's SP standard play and LP, which is long play that you can record with DV tapes, and I don't think this camera is properly identifying which mode they were recorded in, so when it's playing it back, it's very slow, and the audio is kind of messed up. I have discovered there's a project on this tape that is playing back properly on this camera, so if I can get that to reappear here again with the image and everything on Premiere, which was working just fine, at least for one of them. The playback on the camera was all janky, but it was at least appearing over here with the audio and everything. If I can get that, then I think there's one project I can at least pull over for now, and that would at least give me the feeling like I haven't wasted my time today. But anyway, I'm not going to attempt to use this Q-tip to clean off the read head in there. I don't have a whole lot of confidence. For one, Q-tips aren't the best tool for this since it can scratch that read sensor, but this came with the camera cleaning kit, so I'm hoping it'll be all right, and I don't seem to have any coffee filters anymore. So here goes. So I'm just kind of gently brushing across the top of it. I don't have any alcohol or anything going on right now. It doesn't seem that dirty to me either, so I have no idea if this is going to help. So I've skipped forward a little bit, guys, because trial and error when you're trying to figure out something like this isn't all that interesting to watch. I just wanted to show how I've actually gotten some level of functionality out of this. So right now, we are capturing on this computer. However, for some reason, and it's probably just because it's an old camcorder or something like that, it's not actually playing back on here. So that was one thing that took a while to figure out. Why isn't it actually showing up here? Finally, I just hit record and let it play, and I was like, oh, it actually is capturing the video, not capturing the audio, however. So in order to capture audio, I've concocted this sort of intermediary. I got an AV cable here, which this has an AV out, which just goes over to a composite video out, as well as RCA left and right out. You've used those with an adapter to go into my soundboard. So basically I did one pass through this capturing with Adobe Premiere, and then I did another pass with it just outputting the audio and capturing that directly via my soundboard. Then I can take both of those and sync them in Premiere and end up with hopefully a finished video that is more or less what I actually originally recorded on the DV tape. Now obviously this is not an ideal solution, and if I had a bunch of DV tapes to back up, it's not something I would want to go through with. But fortunately, there were actually only a couple things that I really wanted to get off of these DV tapes. There's some other stuff too that I might still try to dive into, but there were two projects that I did towards the end of my time as a film student, and I really wanted to get them off of here just to watch them again 18 or so years later, as well as to just have for my own backup purposes. And I also wanted to share them with some of my friends who were actors, quote unquote, in these videos themselves. Now, unfortunately, I can't share these videos with you guys directly, or at least I can't post them here because they use a lot of copyrighted content when it comes to music and audio. But what I will do is after I've synced them up back here and rendered them back out, I'll upload them as unlisted videos, and I'll put links to those down in this video's description. So guys, please be nice and remember that these are student film videos that I made 18 plus years ago, and I'll put links to those down in this video's description if you want to check them out, and let me know in the comments what you think of them, as well as my friend's acting abilities, which I'm sure have greatly improved since then as well. But the way I was capturing the audio, just to clarify here, was piping it through the soundboard and then using OBS to capture that, using Premiere to capture the video, and it looks like I've at least ended up being able to splice together a couple video projects that I was looking forward to recapturing off of here just to have for my own archives, as well as to share with my old friends, because I'm going to be sending them links to these as well. The video quality, in case you guys are wondering, is 720 by 480 when it comes to resolution. The bit rate, at least that it was captured at, is 30 megabit, which seems a little high. That probably has more to do with what Premiere was encoding it at versus what it was actually captured on the DV tape. 30 frames per second though, and then I think to follow up with the rest of my stack of DV tapes here, what can I do with these? I think the answer that I've come up with in doing some research about the different cameras is that not all DV cameras, especially old camcorders that you might be trying to repurpose as a DV deck, are going to operate just the same. There's variances between the different brands. And then there's also the possibility that it was originally recorded in standard play or long play, and there's even extended play as well, which I don't think I messed with, but is also something that could potentially throw a wrench in there. So I think what I'm gonna have to do for the rest of these, if I still want to capture and archive them, is maybe get a different camera. I might look into getting an actual Canon camera, because I think that's what these are originally recorded with, but I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for deals on that, because I think for now, I'm happy with what I've captured thus far, and hopefully you guys enjoy it too. One final thing, today's video was not really intended to be a tutorial. It was more like, hey guys, I'm doing this, let me kind of take you along for the ride and see what happens. But I do have some other old projects that I might want to capture as well. Those are on VHS. VHS requires a VCR, it's analog only. There are other variables that get thrown into the mix when you're talking about capturing footage from old VHS tapes, but I think there's a slightly higher chance that some of you out there might have old VHS tapes that you want to back up digitally, perhaps more so than those who might still have old DV tapes. So let me know what you think of that idea in the comment section down below, and for now, hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video, and feel free to check out my student film videos linked down in the description. They're unlisted for now, and again, please be kind. Thanks again for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.